Morning. First ask members to appoint a chairman for the meeting, please.
I'd like to put forward Councillor Smith.
Good morning, everyone. Can I welcome you to the Welfare Reform Subcommittee meeting of the 13th of November. Can I remind you that the meeting is being recorded and will subsequently be available for public consumption online in the future. Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies from Gail McGregor this morning. Councillor Collins is, as we know, not present at the start. Together.
Chair, can I intimate an apology? I knew he wasn't coming for this afternoon's meeting, Chair, but I assumed he was. I understood he was coming for this morning's, but since he's not here, I'll intimate an apology on his behalf. Thank you.
Noted.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest? No. Okay, item number 4, which is the minute of the meeting of the 11th of September 2014. Are members happy that the minutes are a true record? Okay, agreed. Thank you very much. Alistair, yeah.
Would you entertain a question, Chair? It's in relation to paragraph 6. Progress.
Depends what the question is, but you can try.
It's I was just to ask for paragraph 6.2. What sort of progress are we making with the sort of teamed proposed teamed area committees, etc.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think we've now got 3 of the 4 dates set for the area committees ongoing. I think there was, I can't remember which area committee was struggling to fit it on the business agenda, but we're in liaison. I think 3 of them will be on the agenda before Christmas.
Thanks very much. Okay, can we turn to item number 5? We have Colin Graham with us today to give us a presentation and update on the digital inclusion pilot. I assume members are happy to agree to the presentation. Yeah. Okay, hand over to Colin. Sorry, yeah, Colin. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Colin Graham, and from April 2013 until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I served as the Welfare Reform Coordinator within the Revenues and Benefits section. One of my principal responsibilities was our Council's involvement with the DWP-led pilots for some of the aspects leading into universal credit. The areas we looked at specifically were digital inclusion and financial education. The decision to become involved with digital inclusion stemmed from the fact universal credit has been pushed forward as originally as being digital by default as part of the UK government's overall digital by default agenda. The basis of it really is any sort of service delivered by them which has 100,000 contacts or more in a year would be presented as being digital by default, meaning you would access online in the first instance. This has since changed through the course of delivery of universal credit being digital by design to digital as appropriate, but it's expected that a large part of the process will still involve at least claiming online and maintaining some of your details online. Dumfries and Galloway faced a number of specific challenges, part of the reason we're probably selected, one being the rural authority we are. We are the 3rd largest local authority in Scotland, a population of roughly 150,000 people, and a large proportion of that population live some distance from one of the main population centres. We do have a network of public access libraries that allow people free access to PCs. However, in Dumfries and Galloway, at the start of this pilot, we were significantly beneath the rest of the UK and Scotland in terms of home broadband uptake, which, if you know yourself, you're more than likely to have broadband in your house. It becomes an indispensable part of your life. It's something you wake up in the morning, you check your emails. If you don't have access to the internet, you're kind of lost for a while. So we're dealing with a large portion of population who don't have that access, who are suddenly have never had that access, being pushed forward to the position that they need access to the internet and need to learn how to use it. Roughly 260,000 hours of free public access are provided by Dumfries and Galloway Council in a year. And this is right across the CSCs and libraries and what have you, but only about 100,000 hours of that are currently being used or were being used through the course of the pilot. So what you're seeing potentially is, with the push forward for universal credit and other aspects of being online, is a sudden increase in demand in that service. Broadband speed also played a particular issue in Dumfries and Galloway. Certain assessors have delivered presentations similar to this across the region to our staff and to other partner authorities. And some people have reported speeds of 2 megabytes per second, which is equivalent to old dial-up speed. So effectively, click a button, wait several minutes, and you get into the next page. So there were certain challenges that we as Dumfries and Galloway faced that would be of interest, especially moving forward. One of the reasons that we got involved with was the aspect of back office automation, which is something we'd already started to look into. Is basically an electronic claim forms which have been utilised in-house for quite a while now. They are completed by the assessor or the customer. The information is then automatically updated to our back office systems overnight, which reduces the need for rekeying, effectively putting the same information in twice. So with those sort of already existing facilities in place, it was an opportunity to try and maximise their use. The Scottish Government excuse me, has also got on board with the aspect of digital participation. Digital inclusion is the phrase, that's bandied out mostly, but I think digital exclusion is perhaps more appropriate given that we are looking at people who are faced with a multitude of issues by not being online. It's reported that having access to the internet, you can save on average about £400 a year just by accessing cheaper shopping, greater deals and what have you. And when you're dealing with the most sort of deprived members of society, these are the people who would benefit most from such access. The digital participation and national framework for local action put forward by the Scottish Government in 2014 in April states, in the digital age, a successful country we want which everybody has the opportunity to get online, and everybody underlined in italics. So they specifically are looking for access to get as many people as they can to benefit from being online. The initial overall objectives of the pilot for the digital inclusion aspect, the objective was aimed to determine how best to prepare a region's customer base to claim and transact online for benefits and identify the gaps. For the financial education, which was chiefly handled by Employability and Skills Service, it was aimed at providing enhanced financial and digital awareness training to customers engaging with the Council's employment support. One of the biggest aspects of digital inclusion is not just making availability. So like I said, we do have public access networks in the libraries and what have you. It's making sure people have the requisite skills with which to use it. As you're probably well aware, the digital world is a large one, and it can also be a very scary one if you've never stepped into it before. Things, stealing identity theft, fraud, and what have you can be quite intimidating for a lot of people. Underneath each of these objectives, we had sort of detailed aims, which sort of give us something to kind of measure and aim for. The ones listed here in the spreadsheet, obviously designates for digital inclusion. First one being increased availability of digital HBCTR, which is housing benefit and council tax reduction forms online on our own council website. As I stated, we actually used the electronic claim form in-house for quite a while before we put it on the website. So this was the first opportunity that customers would have to directly link onto the website and complete their own claim form unassisted. Second objective was promote digital access to new HBCTR claims with a long-term aim of reaching 80% of all HBCTR claim forms being received coming through a digital means. D3, encouraging self-service for HBCTR claims to 50%. When the initial work began in October 2012, when we first put the claim form online as what we call the soft launch, we had no customers completing any claim forms themselves online. Generally speaking, if a customer presented themselves with the need or requirement to claim housing benefit, council tax reduction, they were initially asked to attend an assisted interview, or if that wasn't suitable, they'd be given a paper form to return at a later date. D4, encourage claimants to transact online after submitting their claim. This is one of the aspects of Universal Credit, is maintaining their claim online. So if they have a change in circumstances, they're asked to report that online, provide information online, and it's not something we've ever dealt with. Generally speaking, if somebody had a change in circumstances that would affect their HBCTR claim, they'd report it in person and provide evidence at one of our CSCs or main counters. D5, develop public access points for our customers to access services online. As I said again, we had public access points within CSCs and libraries, but we actually went through the possibility of installing a public access point within our main benefit processing centre and contact centre, which is here in Carruthers House in Dumfries. D6 was reduce staff time spent supporting the claiming process and handling inquiries, and that being face-to-face or telephone. As I said, when someone made a presentation looking to make a claim for housing benefit or CTR, generally speaking, they were asked to attend an assisted interview. This was a deliberate process. It was quite labour intensive, but we implemented it with the objective of reducing our processing time, making sure we can get all the required information requested at the earliest possible instance and provide as much support as we could to our customer. And D7, which was a sort of overarching larger one, is understanding the barriers to claiming online. As I said, most of the people in the room here will more than likely have access to internet today, never mind, on a regular basis and what have you. So it's finding out in the 21st century, what is it that stops people, a large proportion of people, I believe it's 1 in 5, as high as that in some cases, not getting online. And it's not just an age factor. It's the suggestion that an older generation have never used computers, so they're not likely to get on board. It's not the case. There are many people from a variety of backgrounds that have individual barriers, and many more than one barrier that stops them getting online. The financial inclusion aspect, again, the F in the column there refers to that. F1, deliver budgeting and financial education group sessions to existing employability and skill service clients. So clients that already who are unemployed looking for work, assistance getting into work and training and what have you, to take that step one step further and actually provide further assistance by way of financial education and budgeting. Is one thing to give a man a fish, it's another thing to teach him a fish, so to speak. Organise employability-related computer training courses and support to the move to digitalisation. Again, individuals who could potentially have been in work for a number of years, suddenly made redundant, are now faced with the prospect that they're asked to develop an entirely new skill set, not to get a job, but to claim job-seeking benefits, to be able to pay their rent, put their food on the table and what have you, and then move forward and potentially seeking new employment. Identify any debt issues with clients and arrange appropriate money advice support. This is more of a sort of referral aspect for existing customers. As it's no surprise, the prospect of being unemployed and going hand in hand with having debt issues, it's clearly, that people in such circumstances already in quite low income areas and what have you, the likelihood of them having debt in today's society, or payday lending and what have you, it was quite high. Undertake monitoring to provide evidence on the impact of the F3 objective. That was just to kind of follow up, see what sort of assistance and advice worked, what didn't work, could we monitor to make sure it was effective and cost efficient. And F5, gain an understanding of the degree of hidden debt and client group being supported. It's the elephant in the room that people don't like talking about. If they're in debt for a reason, but there could be a multitude of reasons that got them to that position, and trying to get someone to face up to that is often seen as quite a challenge. Over the course of the pilot, we had several changes to the delivery of our business service, Pardon me. And actually managed to achieve quite a fair bit. D1, getting new claim forms online from October 2012, they've been available on the public website, shown there at the Dumfries and Galloway website. The initial soft launch, as I described earlier, was the form was made available in 2012 and just sort of left unpublished effectively. That was to sort of test the robustness of our systems, make sure everything worked from A to B. The last thing you want to do is the first and only contact a customer has is to submit a claim form and it doesn't arrive with us. 2 or 3 weeks pass by and the customer comes in to find out what's happened with their housing benefit claim and it hasn't arrived. We want to try and minimise that. As it was, we don't believe we've had many instances or any of these instances at all. Generally speaking, customers are quite happy filling in the forms themselves. D2, digital new claims were at 70% of total claims received. At the start of the pilot, digital claims were effectively those received in-house and sat at about 56% of claim forms we received. This reached 70%. Currently, approximate levels are around about 75%, but it's somewhat plateaued over recent months. It's suggesting that perhaps there's an element out there of people who either can't provide the support or there's a lack of skills in order to take it. The one thing with claiming benefits, especially housing benefits, CTR, once a claim is made, generally speaking, you're either on or you're off. It's not something you hop back and forward on, so it's not the same person making a paper application or making a digital application. Customer digital self-service forms at 41% of total working age non-DWP claims received in September 2013. And what I mean by that is effectively anybody of a working age. There are different legislation and guidelines applied to people of a working age or a pension age, and non-DWP claims are effectively, there are forms currently received taken when a customer presents himself looking to make a claim for job seekers allowance or employment support allowance. That information is automatically transferred to us so that we don't have to ask the same questions: what's your household makeup, what's your rent, and what have you. So as their forms are taken with the DWP, it was decided fairly early on, there's nothing we can really do to change how they work. So we will look at the whole picture, we'll focus specifically on our service delivery. To go to 41% is quite an achievement. Like I say, prior to October, no customer filled in their own form online. Word of mouth, through a publicity campaign we did, wait in line or get online. it really sort of picked up again. It's kind of plateaued in recent months, but generally speaking, it grew for a while. And that, if you want to make a claim for benefit, especially now, the guidance given by our staff is first and foremost is can you do it yourself online. Now, part of that is a cost-saving and time-saving measure for themselves, but there's also an element of take responsibility for your own benefits, take responsibility for your own situation. We are always here to support you, and there will always be a need to support customers, particularly those with disabilities or learning issues and what have you. But in the first instance, let's try and do away with the element of we'll take you by the hand, lead you through it, we'll give you every bit of information we possibly can, but you need to take ownership. This is your claim. D4, very little uptake. Approximately 1% of all docs created in work management systems were electronic change forms. Now that was back to the follow-up. Once a claim's been made, can a customer follow up on electronically? We have a suite of claim forms online now with change of circumstances and change of address. And of approximately 25,000 documents created over the course of the pilot, only 300 of them or so were electronic change of circumstances. Now, an element of this is, like I said previously, if a customer reports a change in circumstances, generally speaking, they'll be asked to provide evidence that backs that up. Customers increase their working hours or they decrease their working hours, or a change in capital, what have you, we'll need to see some sort of evidence to verify that. So even if a customer did report a change in circumstances online, they would be asked to come in anyway, and very quickly you get the idea. If they're going to have to come in, they're going to come in and tell you and hand it to you straight away, rather than send an email and then have to come see you. D5 of the public service PCs, we now have a self-service hub opened in Carruthers House. 4 PCs that customers can access for either completing a new claim online, reporting a change in circumstances. We also have a new suite of revenues-based forms, that's for council tax and non-domestic rates, which is currently being installed. D6, customer contact time for assessors reduced 40 to 50% across the course of the pilot. There's an average saving of 65 man-hours per month. Initially, as I said, when a customer made an application for clear benefits, they would come to us and we would go through the process with them. By taking away that element of it and asking the customer to do it itself, it has freed up an awful lot of time for our processing staff, who were generally responsible for filling in the forms, and allowed them to deal with the other pressures we've faced with some of the welfare reform changes relating to the size criteria impact, the benefit cap impact, changes to LHA rates and what have you, the introduction of the Scottish Welfare Fund as well. Without the extra time that this afforded us, it would be a much more difficult task to take on. D7, which focused on the barriers through numerous different studies that have been undertaken by a number of different groups, local authorities, housing associations. The Scottish Council of Voluntary Organisations is currently doing it on behalf of the Scottish Government. The 4 main barriers seen to getting online are motivation, confidence, availability of training, and affordability. The last one there would be fairly obvious. If you're in a low-income household, the prospect of having to part with £15–20 a month in order to pay for broadband, your line rental, the setup, and what have you. Me moving, keep my hand. It's obviously going to be an issue. Motivation and confidence, although not surprising, were the hardest to try and define. Generally speaking, if somebody's not being online, you'll say to them, well, why? There's nothing on there for me. Now the internet is as big as you can get. It's, there's something on there for everybody, but it's trying to get somebody to take that first step. Now that first step might not be if you go online you'll be able to claim your benefit. It might be if you go online you'll be able to keep in touch with your relatives who stay in Australia or what have you. DGHP have introduced something locally in one of their supported housing areas where they produced a couple of iPads to member the residents of the property, and it's an elderly area. And within 2 or 3 weeks, the 2 people had been shown how to use it and passed it around to everybody. So they were constantly Skyping their family. How happy they were about the prospect, I don't know. But if you can get somebody to take his first step through that door, then they start to build on, which leads into the confidence aspect of it. Once you've taken the first step, once you've sent your first email, once you've checked the first website and you've watched the TV show or checked the news or what have you, confidence starts to build. Availability of training is one issue. There are various different opportunities to do that in the region. Some of them are led by the council, again through employability and skills, CLD, library services, they'll provide such training. But there are other organisations such as the Castle Douglas IT Centre and various other groups that are providing training for individuals who take that step forward and I don't know how to use a computer, how do I do it? In the financial education outcomes, sessions delivered to existing employability and skills service customers covering budget advice and financial education. The content and delivery of this was produced in conjunction with the Council's Financial Inclusion and Assessment team. So utilised their considerable knowledge and expertise in the area of things like budgeting, money advice and what have you. 2 IT for employability session provided to low-income support out-of-work customers. Again, this was done in conjunction with various other groups, including the University of West of Scotland, the Dumfries and Galloway College, and the Council's Library and CLD services. So customers that presented themselves to them, they're unemployed, potentially have been, as I said before, in work for a long period of time, don't have the necessary skills to complete a CV, to complete a job application and what have you, which more and more companies are saying through the norm. I believe one of the main supermarket chains might be Sainsbury's will only accept an application form if it's done so online. F3, specific debt issues disclosed by customers. Specialist and intensive support was sought where a particular need was identified. So again, it was an aspect of triage almost. Someone has admitted that they have a debt issue. The individual who's dealing with them through the course of that, the service delivery might not be the expert on it, but they can put them in touch with the expert on it. Feedback to obtain engaging customers, identified strengths and weaknesses, delivery. IT for employability was seen as a very positive aspect of these sessions. However, group financial advice wasn't seen quite so positively. Asking someone to admit to or acknowledge their debt issues is difficult enough as it is, rather than having to do it in a room full of people, some of whom you may already know on a personal basis. F5, approximately 4.5% of registered customers divulged debt or money issues. Again, it was quite difficult through the course of the delivery of this to actually have a customer admit one way or the other if they had a debt issue. But it is fairly obvious from the sessions delivered and the feedback they got that it does exist and probably a larger proportion than is recorded there. Takes us to our current position. The digital inclusion and financial education are now fully incorporated into the Council's financial inclusion strategy. We are continuing to take it forward to ensure that customers can get the best support they can as universal credit approaches or delivery with their own housing benefit, what have you. The overall sort of channel shift for most organisations, what have you, are pushing things online, so there's a higher degree that customers could be missing out, not just in benefit aspects, but various other fairly important aspects of their life if they don't have access to proper financial education, know how to budget, know how to make what little money they do get go as far as it possibly can. Excuse me, we have also, through the course of one of my colleagues, Jill Glover, put together a service provision map, which is available on the Knowledge Hub website. Effectively, what we've built is a fairly rudimentary spreadsheet where a customer or a service provider can check the area that the customer lives in and what type of service or support it is they need, be it fuel and insulation or food banks or what have you. We have an ever-growing list of all the service delivery we can get a hold of. We're also receiving various other learning from current UC pilots, organisations, Highland Council in Scotland, various other local authorities in England, to learn what has best worked for them. It's an entirely new delivery, a new method. It's as new to us as it is to the customers. There's obviously various aspects to be worked out, but we're taking what we can from those people who are on the front line dealing with it and trying to implement it and prepare our customers as best we can. Thank you very much.
Very much indeed for that comprehensive presentation, Colin. I'm going to open it up to members now for any questions. Ronnie.
It's a pilot, Colin, and I just wondered how you picked your areas or people for the pilot. And if you're going to open it up, some of them percentages, I think, will be replicated across full provision, as the pilot identified, like 1%, 4.5%. And the impact of, there's a report out this week from about the universal credit. If it's up and running, there'll be so many million adjustments on the system if it was all electronic per year. I think it was per year, which I said would cause chaos. But that aside, just on this pilot, so the two questions are, who did you identify to be in the pilot, those areas or people? And if it was opened up to the whole of Dumfries and Galloway, some of them statistics, would they be replicated?
The pilot actually was initially launched and continued right way through the whole region effectively. So every new claim for housing benefit CTR would be included in the pilot. So all the working in terms of online delivery and what have you, it was initially, there was never a specific area selected. It was a go large effectively. One of the things we were very keen to keep was make sure that service delivery in Stranraer is exactly the same service delivery you get in Gretna. It's very important, obviously, for the council as a whole, but as far as well. We have processing centres across the region, but generally speaking, everybody got exactly the same treatment. From the information we pulled together, there was obviously various skews in terms of people's specific backgrounds and what have you. People who have a disability benefit payment, for example, are far more likely to complete a paper form. Now, the statistics that I pulled together showed that they are just as likely as someone who's not receiving a disability benefit to do it by themselves. Just the method of application effectively differs. So there's a further element of what is it that's stopping them get access? Is it a mobility issue? They can't get to a publicly available website. Is it a network issue? I did some work with the super fast broadband project, once I found out what was going on, to say, like, this is obviously very important if you're going to push the buy-in to people going into broadband and what have you. How can we try and get that message out there? They obviously got objective to try and get super fast, which is 24 meg or higher, at 95% of premises in Dumfries and Galloway over the next couple of years, which would make one aspect of it as the infrastructure taken care of. That you might not have it in your home, but there's a possibility that you could have it in your home if we can find the right sort of deals for you to get online. So in terms of how the pilot worked, it was right across our entire caseload from the get-go.
Our region was one of the pilots. That was, yeah. Okay, Alistair.
Thanks, Chair. Can I go back to the last slide and the second last bullet point, please, Chair, for me? Aye. No, the last one.
The last one?
Yeah, mapping.
Yes.
Service provision has been mapped. Gap analysis of demand and provision. Fundamentally important piece of work, Chair. How are we going to resource that, as it were, to make sure, in fact, that we can meet the demand which the exercise has flagged up, Chair?
One of the pieces of work was getting in touch with many local delivery partners. I think we are fully aware of the fact that where the claim forms online, we as a council are restricted to, from various different reasons, what it is we can deliver. So there may not be a library or public access centre in every town or what have you, but it could well be that there is someone willing to, or someone who's already delivering some IT support or public access points. In order, in terms of trying to fill those other gaps, it's to try and make people as aware as they possibly can be that you may not have immediate access to it, but part of the mapping provision is not just where you can access these services, it's how you can get there. So we also have transport information included on it. So public transport timetables and what have you. It's not a fantastic solution, but we're kind of limited in terms of we can't solve the whole problem, but we can try and put as much out there as we possibly can and make sure that whatever delivery is available, people are aware of it so they can access it the best they can. The sort of wireless network, as it were, remains an issue, not just for ourselves, but for partners and people out there as well. So where neighbourhood managers for a housing association could do a home visit with a tablet or what have you, they don't have the necessary 3G capability to access it. So unfortunately, that's something that the superfast broadband project's not involved in. So it's a discussion for another table, another group, I'm afraid. But it suggested that look, if we can get a wireless network improvement, then this problem could be massively taken care of. And that if someone can't access a library or get on a bus to go to a library, we can have an officer come to their home and have the requisite IT capability to fill the form in with them.
Thank you.
Ian.
Thanks, Chairman. I think first, same as the Chairman, excellent presentation. It's really good, actually. Very full, to say the least, but really good. A couple of points I picked up on was, firstly, just been buying through the internet can save, I think is it per household, £400 a year, roughly, is what you were saying, or was it per person? So I'm just wondering if we've got any stats in regards to what effect that might have on the local economy. Because sometimes it's usually larger companies, but I just wonder if there is an effect. That's certainly the first thing. Your first approach is, can you do this yourself? Totally agree with that. Couldn't agree with that. Absolutely, showing them how to fish rather than feeding them. Can give them a fish, and I absolutely agree with that philosophy. I think it's right. And I just wondered how much of a change is that compared to the previous culture that was there? Is it just a slight change? Is it a major change? Is it having any real detriment to the service that's been supplied? If it's that, that's the second thing. And I suppose you've kind of touched on it, but through the change of the approach you've had in regards to that type of approach, but you're looking at the whole across the whole digital inclusion, kind of being digital first by default. Have you seen the any real benefits for that? Because that was always something we became a pilot region. Thought, what effect will it have? You've touched on a lot of the good points and the bad points, but in real terms, for your perspective, being right in the thick of it, what are the benefits and disbenefits in being part of a
with regards to the overall impact on the economy, it's unfortunately not something that I had an opportunity to kind of look into. There are various, like I say, other groups out there. It's a massive issue, not just for the UK government, the Scottish government, for the world as a whole, effectively. If you can push people online, it saves people money and companies and what have you, but it opens up the world effectively. So you can access local services online. So there are various different things in terms of the council services, like opening time for leisure centres and what have you. So undoubtedly, I dare say there's an expert somewhere who could tell you that specifically this will have an impact on it. But from my sort of my point of view, layman's sort of point of view, I would say that, of course, I couldn't measure it from the information available to me. I would say that yes, definitely. There's a number of small businesses. We have quite a higher than normal percentage of self-employed people within the police, particularly in our claimant base, and it speaks to reason that terms of overall, larger things, renewals of passports, tax disc and what have you. There's a reason these services are going online. It's more convenient to the customer. It's more convenient to the deliverer. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, on your couch, in your pajamas, effectively. But no, again, I don't really know what the sort of local impact is. In terms of service delivery, I would say that in terms of how the customer sees things, I would say they haven't seen a massive change in terms of, they have in terms of who's completing a claim form. But like I said before, once a claim is made, that's generally you. You're on for a while, or you're off and you're back into work. You don't see an awful lot of back and forth and back and forth. So a customer filling it themselves, there was a slow build effectively to, people were used to, if they came to us, they got the form filled in. And gradually, and I've got the graphs and what have you in the final report, you can see as time went on to the publications we put out, the publicity materials we put out, customers took note of that, so we saw less and less footfall coming through the door of people saying, I'd like to claim benefits. We still have it, obviously, because there's still an element people need it. But from their perspective, I would say there's been no real change in terms of service delivery. In terms of accuracy of claims and days to process, there was a slight increase as the service rolled in, but things returned to normal. Trying to measure it by itself is difficult because, obviously, I said before, there's a range of welfare form changes that have made a massive impact on what the guys are doing, so that the tasks they're asked to do and the level of changes and what have you they're having to deal with has meant our caseloads have increased. But, hats off to them, they've managed to maintain an exceptionally high level. Processing still very quick, one amongst the fastest in Scotland. Accuracy rates are still well above accepted levels. So it has been a massive change for us in terms of, one, we have more time to deal with what benefit assessors should be doing, effectively assessing claims. The assistance is always available, as I said, but the culture in our offices has changed massively because these guys, if you're processing a claim, and speaking as a former benefit assessor, you're halfway through it and you're asked to step away to go complete a claim form. It's part of the job. It's not an issue with it. But then you come back and you go, right, what was I doing? Where was I? What were their income details? And you kind of have to, be it a couple of minutes, there's almost a sort of refreshing of what you're doing to make sure you get back into it, to make sure the claim is as accurate as possible. So from conversations with them, they say, look, the fact that I can come in and get to my desk and there's far less likelihood I'll be called out and away from it, and I can focus on specifically what I'm paid to do. They're very proud of the role they take in their job title. They're benefit assessors, that's what they do, and they're very keen to do that as well as they can. So I would say from our perspective, yeah, it's been a massive change, but a good one at that. Caseloads have remained relatively level. There's no up or down, but we've managed to deal with a huge amount of changes with the introduction of size criteria. It affected 1,400 households. Somebody had to input those changes as well, guys. So they've dealt with that and they worked through the pilot, and they've done it very, very well.
Just a small one in regards to the 70%. Thanks very much for those answers. They're absolutely spot on. The 70% plateau, as you spoke about in take-up, do you think that is it? Do you think it's finished? Because when we went through the referendum, there were a lot of political groups who said, well, I think it was in the 80% margin where people were voting. I think most political groups have looked at it and said, well, folk didn't actually vote in the referendum will never vote. And that's it. You understand it. Do you think 70% is that's it? Or do you think there's still advancements on that?
I still think there is room for advancements. I think we've reached everybody we can potentially reach with work we've done so far, or the publicity levels we've got so far. But as I mentioned, one of the biggest aspects of things like motivation, confidence. There's the average age of someone claiming for housing benefits is mid to late 40s. And generally speaking, like say 20% of that caseload is on receipt of a disability benefit. So there's aspects of it, I didn't do anything with internet at high school, and I'm 33. Somebody a generation ahead of me certainly didn't do anything with internet when they were at high school. So potentially that's the last level of education they've come through. They might have gone into work and not done anything to do with computers. So I think there is more to be done. I think as computers and access to internet becomes more and more the norm, you see it every month, every year. Push a red button on your screen, you can do 1,000 different things. It's through your television, it's through your mobile phone, it's through consoles. The more it becomes available, the more I think it will grow. In terms of what we can do as an authority, I think it's just to continue to say, like, there are access points here and here. Is there other training or motivation we provide? Do we provide services online and at a convenience to the customer? I read some ridiculous statistic the other day. There's something like 2 billion Facebook profiles in the world. And so there's more than enough access. Just trying to make sure people take that step. Some of them may well already be online and they don't know it because they're on Facebook, but that's not the internet. That's Facebook. It's finding the right way to say, well, that actually you're more than capable of doing it because you do it on a daily basis. Here's let me show you and introduce them to sort of not to belittle anybody that uses Facebook, but trying to more sort of worthwhile endeavours online. Can we increase your possibility of training? Can we help you save money in your shopping? Can you book a wee holiday for yourself at greatly reduced cost? Various things we take for granted that people just don't know about or can't access. I think there could be more from it, but it's how quickly that's achieved. Again, we as a council, not to say our hands are tied, but we have to kind of take the step along with the rest of the country, the rest of the world. Technology will improve, infrastructure will improve, the super fast broadband rollout, so opportunities should grow from there. Sort of similar nations like Norway and what have you, or Iceland, with massive uptake, somewhere 90-odd%, and similar population kind of makeup. But it's a culture thing. Once it starts to grow, it'll grow, and I think we'll see an increase. It might not be as quickly as we've seen to this point, but I think it certainly will increase. Exactly.
Apart from working in council business, I basically use the internet 90% of the time on this phone. Basically, it's not my laptop I use for accessing the internet. Are all the forms and all that on the council's website mobile and tablet friendly? Can people effectively fill in a form through an iPhone, for example? A lot of people will access internet basically using them devices rather than a home computer.
Yeah, that's it's currently a work in progress. It's something we've got our suppliers to say that. One of the statistics we discovered, although 65% of the region have got broadband connection in their household, of the customers we interviewed, 80% have got a broadband enabled device, and most of the time it's a smartphone. Tablets are effectively the same as mobile PC units. You can access just about anything without any real loss in terms of what you can see and what have you. Mobile phones are obviously slightly different. There's various discussions being had as to whether or not, in terms of universal credit, there'll be an app or there'll be a mobile-friendly version. But it's certainly something that we've reported back to say, look, this could be a massive step forward. It could take the 70% to 80% just by making it available on a different sort of platform. So again, we've gone back to our suppliers and said, can we get a mobile-friendly version? We're working on it as far as we know.
In terms of, you made the comment, fewer people come to us to get the forms filled in, because obviously people are filling them in themselves online. Are we detecting more errors as a result of the fact that we're not effectively sitting beside them filling them in as much as we did in the past? They're doing it online, because obviously one of the big issues around benefit claims is, a bit interesting to see the number of effectively reassessments, reviews, appeals that have been overturned on the basis just simply because information wasn't on the original form rather than the fact that they weren't entitled to it. So are we seeing more mistakes? Are we seeing effectively decisions being revisited because certain information wasn't on the form because they've effectively filled it in at home, basically online?
Not from the information we pulled together. One of the things I measured was the number of letters being sent out, information request letters. One of the systems we use, we have specific document types, so it's easy to effectively measure the number of further information request letters being sent out. Through the course of the pilot, that remained relatively static. The electronic claim form we use are smart forms. Take note of a particular question, you will therefore be, or yes or no, depending on what you put in there, you'll be prompted to fill in spaces for it. So if you say your employment, you've got to fill in the right boxes, you won't be able to go to the next page until you've done it. If you say you don't have anybody else living in the household, then it eliminates 4 or 5 pages worth of, if somebody was in a paper version, effectively their line would go through it, wasted paper, what have you. So no, the form as itself, it's kind of tried and tested. People go through it and are effectively, there's not an assessor stood next to them taking through it, but the form takes them through it stage by stage. If there's something missing from the form, they won't be allowed to progress. If there's information that doesn't add up when you get to the end of the form, there's a sort of validation check to do at the end. It won't let you submit it until you've made the amendments or any further information. So from our perspective, no, I don't believe so.
Okay, I've got Alistair and then Ronnie.
Just a comparative minor point, Chair. There are 5 of us here today who've received the presentation. It's already been said it's a quality presentation. By a process of elementary arithmetic, that means that 42 of our colleagues, haven't. Would there be any possibility, or would it be worthwhile, do you think, in fact, of making arrangements, for the others to be offered the opportunities that were of receiving the presentation as well? And if so, how best to achieve that objective?
Hands of members. I suppose at the very least what we should do is ensure that all members are sent a copy of the slides. I think the slides are largely self-explanatory because obviously they give you the targets and they give you the outcomes of them. So I suppose at the very least we should include it. Back further information, John.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think what we need to do as we move towards looking at universal credit, there's an update to be had on that later. We'll need to start putting an implementation plan. I think this kind of stuff needs to feature. So rather than just say, well, we'll put it out to a set of committees, I think what we'll be doing is bringing the report back probably to January, welfare reform sub, setting out what the implications are, and linking the work to Colin and the team with that process.
Ronnie?
Yeah, it's just on the financial inclusion. One of the statistics was quite low for people revealing if they've got any debt. It was quite low, I think it was 1% or something. Yeah, 4. I just wondered if you had a view on why that is and how we could improve on that. You know, if people are keeping stuff back, we can't help them, obviously.
The financial inclusion element was actually handled by the Employment and Skills Service, so I wasn't directly involved, but through discussions I've had with them, a lot of it was to do with the method of delivery. The initial engagement was in a group setting, and customers are not comfortable doing that. Even in sort of one-to-one sessions, trying to engage someone in a positive way. If someone had been affected with the size criteria, like, you know, you be eligible for a discretionary housing payment, and while you're with us, we can talk about what other issues we've got. We actually set up some meetings and phone people and say, would you like to come on? Oh, that would be great. Yeah, fantastic. And then just didn't show up. So it's, as I was saying before, the element of not removing the support, but in the first instance doing it yourself is about someone taking responsibility for it. My own sort of personal opinion, I believe, and we're all guilty of it, is if you're faced with a problem, if you stick it to the back of your mind, it will go away. It could be, there's a sort of element of that. We do have our own sort of money advice and financial inclusion team, the revenue section, and they'll tell you the same thing. You could engage with a customer that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt because you've got their council tax records in front of them, they're up to eyeballs in debt. Trying to get them to take that step is a different story altogether. So it's a difficult one to have, but it's just hopefully through perseverance and finding the right way to engage with them, someone eventually this culture will grow. You know, I do have a problem, how to deal with it.
Okay, no further questions? Okay, thanks very much indeed. That was very good, thanks. Okay, members, can we turn now to item number 6, which is providing us with an update in the current position regarding the transfer of the setting up of the single fraud investigation service. And ask John if there's anything he wants to add to the report. Sorry, Lorna, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Just one thing to add in paragraph 3.3, made mention of the reduction of 12 million funding. Subsequent to report, DWP have now confirmed to us that our portion of that in Dumfries and Galloway is 73,000, will be reduced from our admin grant next year. Of the staff that transferred, the budget attached to them was 76,000, so it gives us there's about £3,000 of a difference. And I think I've identified in the report we will still have work related to fraud administration and support, so that's going to give us some challenges going forward, but it's something we're closely monitoring as it's still very early days. What we're transferred, actual impact on it.
Can I open up to members? Jane?
I've been impressed at the numbers and the speed of activity that has gone through the processing. I mean, it's obviously good, and Colin touched on that in his presentation. I'm just wanting to know, when did we last do a lean management process on revs and bends and all these sort of activities within revenues and benefits service? When did we last really look at the processes and think whether they are most efficient and effective?
We did a full revenues and benefits business re-engineering process back in 2008, 2009. Subsequent to this fraud transfer, we have redesigned the benefits management structure because the fraud manager transferred and they had functions attached to them that were part of the benefits delivery. So we've gone from, in effect, we had 4 benefit managers, including the fraud one. That's now going down to 3, and we've restructured the layer underneath and looked at the processes that sit below that. So that's another mini one we've done that over the last couple of months. And we're continuing to do that through the year because with the changes coming, we're really looking at benefits and how we're processing. So it's something we do on an ongoing basis, simply because of the number of statistics we have to provide in benefits, both the DWP and Scottish Government. It's an ongoing evolution benefits about really looking about how we do things and the way we do things and stripping out waste where we possibly can.
Ronnie?
Maybe a bit provocative, this question, but with the big increase in people registering to vote with the referendum, it highlighted that there was people out there that disappeared and reappeared, if you like. And it was quickly put that you couldn't trace people for the old council tax.
But however, has this caused a problem for you? Because other than the historic poll tax, is there any other benefits that have popped up because there's more folk on the net in the system than there was before?
Not to any large degree for us. I mean, I knew it was, very widely reported about certainly the impact on poll tax. And I think because of the arrangements we've always had, we've worked closely with assessors and registration in the past. There is a process for passing information back and forward. There wasn't an increase in the number of people registered to vote, but nothing much has filtered through to benefits for not certainly it's not come to my attention.
Any other members? Okay. Thanks very much for that update, Lorna. Can we go to the recommendations? Members happy to note 2.1? Okay, and also 2.2. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, can we turn to item number 7, which is the regular report we receive on Scottish Welfare Fund and discretionary housing benefit. Is there anything you want to add to the report, Lorna?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, just one addition. Again, in paragraph 3.3, I've made mention of the move to fulfilment for community care grants. That's actually gone ahead of schedule. I said in the report that it was due to go live on the 1st of December. We've actually gone live on the 6th of November, last Monday, and this week we had our first case where we've actually fulfilled with goods with furniture and carpets. So that's now going ahead.
Very much for that. We'll open up to members now. Jane?
Who are CF? Where are they based? CF services.
They're based in Airdrie.
Alistair?
Paragraph 3.2, sir, talking about various applications and spends rising. Is there any sort of empirical evidence as to why this should be the case? Can we have any sort of degree of enlightenment on that?
Certainly for community care grant, again, is, we've had a piece of work to raise awareness of what's out there and what can be used. So we're thinking that that's now getting out, the message is getting out of it's available. So that's increasing demand. Crisis grants, I think there's a variety of reasons why. I mean, obviously, as welfare reform, it starts to bite. And what I'm asking to be closely monitored is at the end of October, the number of waiting days for job seekers allowance increased from 3 to 7 days. It's longer before you get paid. So councils or other councils already reporting that's impacting on their crisis grants. So I've asked the team to monitor that closely here. Anecdotally, I'm being told that yes, it is impacting, and we'll see that over the coming months and try and monitor the number of cases actually we're getting through that's direct as a result of that.
Thanks, Chair.
Jane?
Can I ask why the community care grants, the average award, should be in Nithsdale and Sturtree at 560 something, and in Wigtonshire and Annandale 600 and something?
I haven't got the exact details of why there's a difference in there, Jane. It's something I can go away and have a look at to see if we can come to exactly why there is a difference across areas in community care grants. It'll depend what's been in the packages of what we've delivered in those areas, whether there's a higher demand for certain types of goods in areas. I would need to have a look at that back.
Yeah, Ronnie, yeah.
My question is very similar to Jane's, because you look at the average figure, but if you look at the number of applications or successful, and you take Annandale and Nithsdale, which I was interested in, it's this third highest, yeah. Yeah, it has a higher figure. So obviously the need must have been greater. I'm assuming, but that was a question I was going to ask, how we could break that down, because you'd have thought that Nithsdale being the biggest area, which it has the biggest claims, had a higher figure. But so a wee bit of clarity around that would be great, from both the input and the output.
Yep, I'm happy to take that away and have a look and come back with some analysis.
Chair, can we have that information disseminated to all 47 members?
Can I just ask, Lorna, you've indicated obviously that the DHP fund is going to come in under the overall budget of 1.4 million. What's the sort of projection around crisis grants? What we're looking at in terms of projected overall spend in relation to that?
In relation to community care and crisis grants, I think as last year we came in under with the crisis grants, and looking at the way it's going this year, we probably will come in under. Our spend has increased. We're spending more this year than we did last year, so I still expect our spend to be increasing. Depending on what the impact of this increase in waiting days and sanction regime is, it's still ongoing. I expect that spend, but I'm still, based on our current figures, it looks like we'll come in or under the overall budget.
And we'll obviously carry that forward future years. And in terms of, what's our current target time for processing DHP applications? I forget what the target was again. We obviously were hitting about, the average was, I think, 10 days in September. What was it? I can't remember what our target was.
Our target was to do them under 14 days, and we're currently running about 11 days for DHP. We did take a slip in October. Staff holidays, school holidays always hits us. So the number of applications for DHP are still, high, considering we've met all size criteria cases. It still surprises us that the volume for is high.
Okay, Jane, and then Ronnie.
Just a couple of things. Factual one is, can you possibly remind me, I can't remember the answer to this, which is about the DHP budget next year and the year after. Are we receiving the same level? Are we going to receive the same level of the 1.4, whatever it is? Yeah, 1.4 million. Are we going to receive that on an ongoing basis? That's the first question, it's a factual question. And the other question, generally speaking, is are we taking a real look at the business of getting benefits out to people faster? Because what we're constantly told is that people are reluctant to change their employment status and take on, let's say, a part-time job. I know this in the statutory because I've come across a particular individual case when people say, well, we would take on a part-time job, but to be honest, we're so alarmed by the possibility of a benefit not coming through quick enough when something has maybe gone wrong with our part-time. We're not getting the same number of hours, and we then aren't able to pick up our benefit quickly enough, that we're not going to take that job. Do we have stats on whether or not that's a problem with our own people here?
First question on DHP for funding for 15-16, the DWP have committed to similar levels. I don't know exactly what our level will be. Scottish Government top-up is still under discussion with COSLA. Obviously, we are we benefit quite considerably. Whether that will continue will be up to Scottish Government, so we may not get as much next year. The issue about processing benefits, obviously I can answer for housing benefit and council tax benefit. We process, it's one of our key indicators is how quickly we process, and we are one of the quickest in Scotland. But in saying that, that's still our average processing time for housing benefit is currently about 18 days, which is still over a fortnight. We are under significant pressure. That has been slipping just because of the volume of work and got. So we do prioritise it. But that question is one of the questions that Universal Credit is to answer, that there will not be that delay because all the benefits are wrapped up in one, so you move into what the transition is much smoother. But will be quicker. The proof of that pudding will be eaten. So.
just on Appendix 2, just curiosity, because it's Annandale and Eskdale. The benefit cap is, what is it? Is it 26,000? Is that what the benefit cap means?
£350 a week for a single person, 500 for a couple.
Right. And Annan doesn't have anybody in that category. Is there a reason for that?
Not specifically. Cap tend to be large families, so obviously no large families. And, or the other one is homeless can be because of the homes accommodation charges high.
Well, I think the overall number of people hit with the benefit cap in Dumfries and Galloway is relatively low. I think it was one of these wonderful announcements that the headlines were more important than the actual practical impact in relation to the numbers involved, you know. Yeah, Daily Mail headline, as Jane says. Alistair?
Going back to Lorna's previous answer to Jane's question, Chair, who decides when we've reached the tipping point? You know, how do you decide that? In other words, making a plea for more resources, because it is obviously a worry. You know, to hear you, while I admire and respect your candour, you know, but it's a worry nonetheless. You say that, you know, you're sort of slipping, you're under pressure, etc. You know, so do you feel that you've reached the tipping point yet, you know, to be coming back looking for more resources, given the current difficult? Yeah, you're smiling, I know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's essential that we're told what we need to know what people think that we might want to hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Maybe I'll take that. In terms,
I'll give you a list.
in terms of us managing the service going forward, obviously it's identified as a key statutory function. We are aware of some pressures in terms of the team, and we're looking at ways to try and address that. We think we're a bit short in terms of the staff that we've got, and we're trying to manage that through the budget process with the director and the other members of SMT. Albeit the fact that we have to come in on an overall balanced budget for CCS, they're the pressures that we have to try and balance and juggle, and it's actively being managed pretty much on a weekly basis. We're looking at this.
Ian, just on that point, because I mean, I would assume that if somebody came in and looked for housing benefit and it takes the 18 days, like you're saying, then I would have thought crisis grant would have kicked in if that was an issue. So unless there's a big disparity how long it takes to get a crisis grant compared to housing benefit coming into line, I know you're saying universal credit will take over that, but I mean, it's something I just thought there would have been some kind of emergency route for somebody to take if there, because MD who's got an opportunity to take on work or get a job but secure their future better, because let's face it, most people do actually want to be in work and earn a living for themselves, look after themselves. Can you naturally jump towards that? So you think I would like to think that there was a route that if for some reason that was a restriction or hold up, there'd be a crisis grant or something that they could actually apply for, but it would come forward quite quickly.
There will be circumstances where crisis grants are applicable, but it will depend on customers' income situation. If they've got part-time work and they're looking at increasing their hours, they may not fall into the eligibility of crisis grant. You know, if they're on benefits, if they're waiting on their job seekers allowance or employment support allowance come through, there is access to short-term benefit advances to DWP. So there is some financial routes out there that people can apply to, and we would use whatever ones we could. And saying that, we do work closely, especially with the RA sales. So if it's housing benefit for a rent payment, we will talk to the landlord. Yeah, it's in process. We've got it. It will be. So the landlords, especially RA sales, are sympathetic, and we will work with private landlords who are willing to do so to advise them that we have claims processing. So we will be as sympathetic and as helpful as we can to assist people and access crisis or short-term.
I mean, that's absolutely, that gives me a lot of satisfaction to hear that that's the way, and then it would come back to me, Ken, you couldn't conclude, but it would make me think then is certain folk using that as an actual excuse in which to avoid work. Again, it's something that certainly springs to mind if there is decent routes for them to actually make sure they can get onto the working ladder.
Any other members? Thanks, Lorna. Can we turn to the recommendations? Are members happy to note 2.1 and note 2.2? Okay, thank you very much. I don't have any other business, but can I ask members just to stay behind for a few minutes? John wants to just give you an update on something that's happening at the end of the meeting. Ronnie?
It's more like two governance questions. One, that thing's affecting the IT and it shouldn't. It should be on a different system. The thermostat. Happened the other day at our committee. So I just want to flag that. Maybe Claire can take that to somebody that's responsible for this building, because that should not affect the IT. There's some electrical fault. It's spiking in it. So that's an issue. The other issue is, Alistair made the point about sharing things. This is a subcommittee of full council, and I just can't remember it. Once a year, maybe a subcommittee should report back to full council on the work it's doing on behalf of the full council. This one is an annual report. It doesn't seem to happen. It's just a question I'm throwing out there, like maybe Claire can talk to governance or Alec, whoever. Because there is a lot of issues that in award work, you know, you want a signpost that might not be, we might appreciate because we're here, but there's other councillors out there that may not appreciate it. So I think this subcommittee, at least once a year, should make a wee report to full council of the work they're doing on behalf of the full council. I don't know if that, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's just the point Alistair made. How do we share this with the other 47, the full 47 members?
It's a good point. Sure, members, obviously all members can have access to the papers and get access to presentations, but it's good. But I suppose it covers every committee in the council by definition. You know, we don't all sit in education, for example, but we've got a keen interest in education. Yeah, still only has 19 members on, or 21 members, I think, was it, in comparison to 47 members. So yeah, it's yeah. Okay, we'll give a presentation at full council, and we'll nominate Ronnie to do it at full council in December. Okay, I'm sure Claire will take that back and have a chat with and we'll fix the thermostat. Okay, members, thanks very much, and I'll close the meeting there.